three-headed deal here tonight.
Actually, I got a couple things. Remember Gabe Davis lines up everywhere. He's not static. They don't look him as static, though he's
Right.
obviously he's tall. He looks like he's an X. But remember when I told you, John, when they got him, he's so smart that he line up everywhere. They still are going to do that with him, as I understand it.
Yep.
We'll see who matches up against him. But yeah, so a couple things here on the running game. Let's kind of review something. They try to sign McKissick, but before that, I'm told very strongly that they called the Panthers about McCaffrey. They were told Panthers were not interested in moving him, so that went by the wayside. They had the agreement with McKissick. He backed out. So what does that tell you? They drafted James Cook because they want explosiveness from the run game. They do not have that.
It's not Singletary.
And as good as Singletary did for them, he's not explosive in any way, and Cook is that guy. So I want to throw this at Greg here, see what he thinks. You've seen Bobby Wagner more than anyone I know, other than coaches. Is Wagner at 32? Could they take advantage of him in coverage?
I think they're going to try,
okay.
And that's why I mentioned the formation I did,
yeah.
Because I think they'll try to get him to have to run with speed inside. That's become very in vogue in the NFL now, particularly with so many teams playing specific kinds of defenses that are kind of Vic Fangio based. Which has really been a reaction to speed inside. But I think that's what they'll try to do. They'll try to get speed inside and see how the Rams play it.
Let's head to the next game here. The Saints at the Falcons. Very difficult game to wrap your head around here with Jameis Winston coming off this ACL, Adam. Certainly a good matchup. What do you expect out of the same passing attack? Conservative approach here? I only gave Jameis, I think, 28 attempts here. What have you heard about Jameis and his recovery?
Good. Pretty good. He wasn't dragging the knee, the surgically repaired knee, too much. He started to get better as August progressed. And they've completely reshaped their receiver core, as you know, with Olave. Michael Thomas coming back. Now he's got a hamstring injury. We're optimistic he'll be able to play. Jarvis Landry, of course. So it went from being a receiver core, which was probably bottom 10, to, okay, now they've got some talent there. And Kamara's healthy, no issues there. Ingram's his backup, as I told you was going to be the case. It wasn't going to be the kid you like. What's the kid's name? The running back.
Abram Smith?
Yeah.
Oh, he got cut.
I told him that was done in March. He was going to be the backup. Right. But the big issue, and I'll throw it back at Greg here. James Hurst, who's kind of a journeyman left tackle, is that a matchup you think they could exploit a little bit? The Saints?
Yeah. I mean, the Saints are, first of all, they're very good on the edge. Well, you're talking about Hurst being
Hurst on the Saints O-line, for the Falcons.
No, I don't know. That's a tough question. I think what you're probably looking at is much more of a schemed defensive approach for the Falcons in this game than just a one-on-one deal. Hurst has played a lot of snaps. He's not a guy. I mean, obviously he's viewed more as a backup, but he has started a lot of games in this league. So is he a weakness in this particular game? That's kind of hard to say. I mean, the thing is he is a veteran, so the blitz concepts won't bother him as much because he's seen a lot. If you look at the Falcons depth chart and their defense, they don't really have someone you'd call a great edge rusher.
Yeah. Well, Dean Pease, zone-based guy, right? And our guy Wes Huber points out that Jameis does have success against cover 2. But, how do you wrap your head around Jameis Winston, the player that probably needs to be managed a little bit and minimized, and then all these volume receivers they have here? What's the identity of the Saints going to be? I guess run base, but they do have a collection of receivers now.
I don't know if they'll be run based, John. I mean, I think they view Jameis as a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, I guess not.
I don't think they view Jameis as a guy you have to protect.
Right.
When I protect, I don't mean in terms of pass protection. I mean a guy that you kind of have to hide a little bit and prevent him from throwing the ball. I think they view Jameis, and if you go back to last year before he got hurt, they were not protecting Jameis. So I think that they view Jameis, and the reason they drafted Olave and signed Landry, and obviously Michael Thomas is back. I don't think this is, hey, let's run the ball and limit Jameis's dropbacks.
Yeah, that's very fair.
I don't
Honestly,
think they see that at all, particularly against this given defense.
right. Well, and we'll see long term how that plays out. You know, the more we see of Jameis throwing, the worse he gets. But they also didn't do anything at running back. So, and they added Olave to your point there and brought in Jarvis. So, yeah.
Well, they had to. Let's face it. That receiver core was so poor last year. They had to add 2 significant pieces. This was their plan in the offseason.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure on the Jameis. I'm talked to people who work with him. Very smart, very well respected by the coaching staff. But you kind of know when you ask Jameis, you put a lot on him. He forces throws. This has been the story of his career. So I would think, John, high 20s, low 30 attempts, which is kind of around the league average. I'm not expecting – look, there's no Sean Payton. That factor, that's actually – we should probably mention that. The Pete Carmichael factor, who's obviously very close to Sean, and he called the plays when Sean was suspended. This is interesting, though, John. Going forward, Pete Carmichael as a play caller, I'm fascinated to see how this works.
I mean, I personally don't know how anyone can have confidence in Jameis, but you know, it is overall probably a good matchup. We've got him 230 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Adam, let's go to the Falcon backfield, and how do you think that's going to play out right away? Might it be the veterans, Cordero and Damian Williams here, with Algier, you know, needing some time?
Yeah, look, it's a run-based offense. It's what Arthur Smith wants. They know who they have at quarterback. By the way, Mariota is really healthiest I'm told he's been in several years. So he'll be part of the run game. Yeah, I think it's a committee. I think we saw, John, late last season who Patterson became. He became the guy he used to be. It was an unbelievable story, and then he started to struggle down the stretch. They did bring him back. That's fine, but Algier is a guy that we talked about a couple months ago. He fits what Arthur Smith wants in a profile for running back. I think it's kind of a 3-headed monster there. Now how Damian Williams fits in, I'm curious. I don't have an answer for that one.
And Greg, not the easiest matchup for these Falcon receivers, maybe other than Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's got to be a Kyle Pitts game here, but that's not the easiest matchup against this defense, right? They're still – going to play probably a lot of man-to-man, right? That's kind of what they do.
Yeah, they play a lot of man. They play a lot of two-man. They're really good with their pressure concepts. I think this O-line is questionable right now for the Falcons. So you would think that there'd be some concerns there. But I think they're going to line up Pitts and Drake London all over the formation, and they're going to go from there. And then, we'll see what they can get out of Brian Edwards. We've all liked Brian Edwards, and it didn't work out in with the Raiders, but he's got talent. So it's a big receiving core. Edwards, London, and Pitts are big guys.
And Arthur Smith loves tall receivers.
Yeah,
that's his big deal. Yeah, it's boy, if Brian Edwards, John, could just revive his career a little bit, he's going to have an opportunity. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean the Saints do have decent size at corner, right? Their outside guys are pretty decent size, right? Not that it matters all that much in the grand scheme of things. We'll move on to Cleveland at Carolina, the Browns at the Panthers. Adam, why don't you chime in first on the identity of the Carolina Panther offense? Like, what do they want to do first and foremost?
Power run. They want run. They want to run first. This is what Matt Rule's told his coaches. They want to run the football. So Ben McAdoo knows what he's been charged to do here: run the football, design a good run game. And the thing that they're really happy with is the space that he's created in the pass game. Where Joe Brady kind of failed to scheme guys open, specifically Robbie Anderson last season.
Right.
Based on their practices, I'm told that Anderson and DJ Moore have had a lot of room to roam. That's a good thing. And McCaffrey, by the way, the shin, he got cleated. He's fine. They had to put him on the injury report because he got treated for it, but he's fine. He got added, but that's not a problem. It's a shin. His shin got cleated today. He's fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So people got freaked out. Don't worry about it. No, it's look, it's gonna start with a run game. I'm not saying Foreman is gonna get a lot of carries, but he fits what they're looking. They want someone. For some reason, McCaffrey can't play.
I'm not buying Chuba.
He's not. He's a changeup. They learned that. They know what he is. But Foreman is a guy who can handle volume.
I almost think Foreman might be a better changeup. I mean, I guess he's. Well, I don't know. What do you think, Greg? The better change up complement to McCaffrey, like a Hubbard type or a bigger bruising guy like Foreman?
I think Foreman is the guy who's going to play, John.
I do too. I do too.
I don't think there's any question about that. They signed him for a reason. Hubbard's been there, and they
Yeah.
signed Foreman for a reason. And
Yeah.
they know that McCaffrey has an injury history. So they figured that if McCaffrey got hurt again, they did not want Hubbard to be the guy.
Right.
And Foreman can be the guy, certainly for 5 or 6, 7 games. So, yeah, I don't think there's any question it's Foreman.
Right. The markets out there got weird about that, but we were pretty steadfast with Foreman on that one. And Greg, I think they're going to have to run the ball, because I would be concerned about this Panther O-line, Ike Ekwonu up against Myles Garrett and this crew here. I mean, how important is that right there, that matchup?
Well, it's going to be a work in progress for the O-line. So you're right. They're facing a tough D-line. It certainly starts with Myles Garrett, but you got Ekwonu, who's a rookie. And then you got Brady Christensen, who was moved to guard, who was a tackle. And you have Pat Elflein, I think, starting at center, I think. And he's been –
He is. Yeah,
he's not been what people thought he'd be coming out of college.
Nope.
So it's a better O-line than it was a year ago, but it's still an O-line that I think will struggle this week unless they can control the game running the ball.
And using McCaffrey maybe in the passing game, I could see a big check down game to him, not have the Baker hold on to the ball at all, easier said than done, I guess. Now for the Browns and their passing game, Greg, go back to you. This is not an easy matchup. This Panther secondary last year was pretty damn good. And Adam, go back to you quickly, Adam. I assume JC Horn, we're good to go here.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
He gave him a little bit of a scare. He had soreness in the surgically repaired foot, but he's good to go. In fact, he was playing on special teams, so he's obviously fine. And the player to watch is CJ Henderson. Apparently, whatever was going on with him in Jacksonville, lost confidence. It just was, he had to go. Urban Meyer wanted him off the team. He was the star of the offseason, really good training camp. They feel great about their secondary. They really do. They feel like the best secondary they put together in years.
They got 3 number 1 picks back there, plus Jackson was a 2nd-round pick. Greg, I feel like this talent for talent here, they could smother these Browns receivers.
They've actually got pretty good talent on defense overall. But the secondary is pretty good. I mean, Horn's a number 1. Henderson was. Dante Jackson was a number 2. Woods has been in the league, solid player at safety. We know what Chin is, really good player. I mean, this is not a bad secondary at all. And, even Shaq Thompson, they signed Damian Wilson, who's been with a number of teams, but you can line him up and play with him. This is actually a pretty good defense.
Anything else here injury-wise, Adam, before we move on? I don't think we have anything.
No. I'm with Greg on the offensive line, though. They love Brady Christensen, who's going to play guard. He could play 3 or 4 positions. It's Ekwonu, this is his first start. Corbett's okay. Elflein has bounced around, as we know, from the Vikings, the Jets, and now the Panthers. So it's clearly better than last year, where they had maybe the NFL's worst offensive line. But Greg's right on this one. It's probably going to take them a while to get it going, and with the pressure they could get from those ends, that does worry me a little bit in this matchup, John.
49ers and Bears. Anything injury-wise here, Adam?
Kittle.
Who got hurt earlier this week. Yeah, I haven't got their stuff yet from today, but
he was out. No, he was out today.
He's probably not going to go, I would think. I mean, barring something,
it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you think, I guess we know how they're going to play. It's going to be interesting, Greg, with Jimmy Garoppolo there, I guess you don't want to hide Trey Lance like they hit him last year with Garoppolo back there, right? Basically is what I'm asking. And how do you think they play things? Do you think they, maybe have Lance throw it, let's say it's a relatively competitive game, in the upper 20s and not like really just be a runner out there?
I don't think they'll play it quite that way, John. But keep in mind, even Garoppolo, there were games when they were playing quote unquote 49er football where Garoppolo only had 23 or 24 passing attempts.
True. Yeah.
So, I don't think that even if Trey Lance becomes Trey Lance and, the player they want, I don't think that philosophy is going to change. Yeah, I don't think they drafted Trey Lance with the idea that, hey, now we're going to drop him back 45 times a game. So I don't think anything is really going to change other than there'll be some design runs in their offense.
I agree 100%.
Now, he can make some throws, that theoretically Garoppolo can't make. They might take a few more deep shots.
Right.
Maybe he works outside the numbers a little more. But I think in
Right.
terms of volume of throws, if they're playing 49er football, I don't think that's going to change dramatically.
I gave him 25 passing attempts,
Yeah,
which is very low, but
that's probably fair.
yeah. But I remember, I think that second start, like it was to the point where I'm giving him like 15 attempts, like a ridiculously low. That's kind of what I was saying there, but I don't have any much else,
Oh boy, the Barrow line, John, is a problem.
Oh, that's true. Well,
it's
yeah.
I had a team and did advance on them. They're playing the Bears coming up, and let's just say they think this is one of the worst offensive lines in football. So we'll see.
And the strength of the 49ers D is their front.
There you go.
Their front and their linebackers. So that'll be interesting. Fields could be, under a lot of duress in this game.
Remember that Cleveland game, John? I'm not saying it's be that bad, but this worries me, this game.
Greg, I don't know how much you saw in the preseason, but it does seem like they are getting Fields on the move quite a bit here. I don't know if you noticed.
And I think they'll want to do that. And
Yeah.
I think they'll want to get the ball out of his hands quick. All that is dependent on staying somewhat on schedule, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm anxious to see what their run game looks like because they brought in Luke Getsy, and that's the zone run game for the most part with a lot of outside zone. And as we've discussed, I don't think that fits Montgomery really well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and maybe fits Khalil Herbert well.
I think it fits him meaningfully better, but, we'll see. As you guys know, week one can be unpredictable in many ways, particularly new coaching staffs are, no matter what happens in the off season through training camp, through preseason games, until you start playing the real games, you just don't know.
Well, to that point, Greg, let's move on to Cincinnati hosting Pittsburgh, Bengals hosting Steelers, and Pittsburgh now Terrell Austin, right? So the Steeler D maybe changing a little bit, Greg. Any thoughts there?
Well, I don't know what it might look like. That's the thing. I mean,
maybe less zone, maybe more man-to-man.
Possibly. We don't know. It depends on how they feel about their corners. In this given matchup, they're playing obviously three really, really good receivers. So,
right.
We don't know that.
True.
That's
that
one of,
true.
And again, I'm not trying to cop out, but we just don't know. I mean, right
now,
that
is a great point. No, because
I mean, right now, I assume that right now, and Adam, you may know more, but is it Witherspoon and Sutton who will start on the outside?
Yeah, with Mollett.
Keller Witherspoon, who you never know what you're going to get from him. He's shown some ability to play really well, and then he's given up plays, but he kind of revived his career. They're not very good at corner, though. That's a very
keep in mind, last year in the Week 12 matchup, they played safety Kirkpatrick over the top of Chase, and who was the single receiver to the boundary, and they let James Pierre, who's still on the roster and could easily get snaps, they let him play one-on-one, man-to-man versus Higgins, and Higgins caught a touchdown. So, just the idea that, hey, Austin might want to play more man, that's all well and good, but I don't know if they truly, unless they can get great pressure on the quarterback, I don't know if they truly have the people that can line up and play man. I think there's going to be selective doubling, selective bracketing. I think there's going to be a lot of that based on down and distance and field location.
But John, I get your point. Austin's background is in more man coverage and blitzing and stuff like that. That's kind of how he's brought up. But Greg's right. In this case, how in the world could you go into that matchup thinking you could play man?
Especially since Burrow has not had a lot of success in this matchup, actually.
Okay, but I mean,
it's the second game last year, if I'm not mistaken. They kind of kicked their ass, and he didn't have to throw a lot, so the numbers are not really reflective of the nature of the game.
Sure.
But I love the matchup, so John. The Bengals obviously have. To me, have a distinct advantage here. We'll see how it looks, but if you base personnel versus personnel, the Bengals receivers versus the Steeler corners, I take this Bengal receivers here.
Yeah. For sure. So we can move on. And I mean, do you guys think, by the way, Greg, Adam, anyone, that the Steelers fixed their leaky run defense from last year? Because that was
Worse than the
Unbelievable.
NFL.
I know, which was very surprising because normally you don't think that way with the Steelers.
I mean, Greg, I've been doing this 29 years. I literally have never thought that way about the Steelers up until like now.
I know.
That's crazy.
I mean, believe it or not, when I at the end of the season, when I just took a peek at the stats, and I saw they were last in the league in run defense, I kind of went, really?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Who knows the answer to that? I mean, they signed Larry Ogunjobi, who's actually a very good run defender. Their hope is he at least plugs a little bit of the leak. We'll see about Miles Jack. He's, Devin Bush he's probably getting his last chance this year.
Yeah, it's a shame, man. I thought that kid, I watched film of him in college with you, Greg. I thought it was great, but that injury may have robbed him.
Yeah, and he's had issues with key and diagnose. He doesn't see things the way you need to. Pass defense, he's really had a hard time despite being a higher level athlete.
Yeah.
Another thing, John, is Tyson Alualu is got to be mid-30s. Cameron Hayward is a terrific player, but he's older. He was drafted in 2011. So, yeah, and Ogunjobi is a guy who's had some injuries, but he's talented. I'm not so sure if they fixed it. They've tried with Ogunjobi, Miles Jackson there, but it's not like they brought in like two big-time defensive tackles or big-time run stoppers. They haven't done that.
Right. Let's move on to Philadelphia and Detroit. We had some serious fireworks in this matchup last year. Let's start with Detroit's offense against Philly. Hawkinson went nuts. Tight ends have really hurt the Eagles for years now. And Greg, your thoughts on Amon-Ra? It seems like the Eagles, a lot of zone. Amon-Ra, kind of crushes that. Your thoughts on Goff and the passing game against Philly?
Well, I think the Eagles defense is going to be different this year. I think there's going to be a lot more of the Vic Fangio mold. And, we're not going to get into the weeds on that, but I think that's what Jonathan Gannon would ultimately like to do. And it's actually a very, very difficult defense to play against tactically and conceptually. I'm not suggesting the Eagles will be a top 3 defense in the league, but it will not be the same Eagles defense as a year ago. I think Adam knows that as well. I'm talking about in terms of what they do tactically. Now, we'll see how it plays out. They actually have really good people. I mean, they've certainly upgraded. Gardner Johnson is a very good player. He'll play safety, but the way they want to play defense with that kind of Fangio mold, it's a lot of matchup principles. So he's going to match up as well. It'll be a better defense. The one thing about the Eagles is they can rush with 4. And when you can rush with 4, your options on the back end increase meaningfully.
And Adam, of course, the Lion O-line is always something. And Frank Ragnow, I guess, was out of practice.
He didn't play last year against them. Big V's out. He got put on IR with a back injury. The kid, the Tommy Kramer kid who's backing up Big V, he's got a back injury, so they don't know if he's playing for sure. So the Eagles played them last year with 2 of their offensive linemen out, and I know Hawkinson did well, but understand something. They were so far behind, and notice he averaged less than 10 yards per catch in that game. It was everything short.
Right.
But
I would keep one other thing in mind too. I mean, I don't know if he's improved from last year to this year, but I watched about 250 Jared Goff throws this summer, and Penei Sewell was really bad at right tackle last year.
Oh boy!
So I don't know in pass protection in particular. So again, you'd have to assume he'll be better. That's where he's staying at right tackle. But he was not very good at all a year ago.
That is unbelievable when you really think about it, comparing it to Jamar Chase. Wow. But Adam, I mean, bottom line in the matchup, Amon-Ra can go inside and probably avoid Slay and Bradbury.
That's more for Greg.
I'd be, again, we don't know the answer to this. I'll just give you my pointless point of view. I would be surprised if the Eagles in this matchup traveled Slay. I think they'll feel pretty comfortable just lining up and playing their concepts.
I agree, because Slay, although he struggled at times against the bigger physical guys, Amon-Ra, as talented as he is, John, we all love him. He's been a great story. He's not a guy you're really worried about. He's going to get his. But he's not like a deep threat or dangerous. He's just a really good possession receiver. So,
I'm giving him 6 catches, so I'm hoping he gets a.
I wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not. In terms of matchups, I agree with Greg. I just don't think you're really worried.
And keep one thing in mind too. While we might not consider either one a big time receiver, Chark and Reynolds can get on top of you. So I'm not sure that St. Brown is going to be viewed. I agree with everything Adam said. If the Eagles could easily live with St. Brown going 10 for 99, and they'd be totally fine with that.
And we'd be happy as well.
Yeah,
ranked highly.
PPR leagues, that's right.
So guys, what do you think of the Eagles' run defense right now? When the Lions when Deuce Staley tries to run it, behind this whole line, given the right tackle, you may want to run it. Adam, Eagle run D going to still be well above average?
Yeah,
where are they at?
They're all back. Hargrave is back he missed just about all of training camp. The key here is, and nobody knows yet how much Jordan Davis is going to play, but he's going to blow up. He's going to blow some plays up when they play base. I don't see him being in nickel or anything like that, but I think it'll be good. To answer your question, I think they'll be fine against the run. I don't think that'll
got a really deep D line. I mean, I would say Davis is a 20 to 25 snap a game guy right now. He'll play in base. They play the 5-man front, so he'll play in that. I agree with Adam. He'll have some special plays, and then he'll have some plays just like the preseason where he looks tired and worn out. So that it's funny because I actually, just to show you how nuts I am, I this summer I went through a lot of Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith and Kaylee Ringo, who are 3 Georgia defenders who will come out in next year's draft.
Yeah.
So I just kind of took another peek at Davis, because he's on the Eagles, and he was kind of the same at Georgia. That's what he is. He has really special, amazing physical plays, and then a lot of other plays where he just kind of stands up. The biggest thing he's going to have to overcome in the league is he plays high.
Well, when the Eagles go on offense,
no man wins.
This might be an opportunity. I'm not saying coming out slinging it here, but I would imagine, Greg, it's a decided edge for A.J. Brown and Mr. Smith against this line secondary. Jeff Okudah is back in the lineup.
I kind of think that the Eagles will have a decided edge in man-to-man matchups against a lot of teams because they got 3 guys who can win one-on-one. They got Goddard, they got Devonta Smith, and they got A.J. Brown. So, and last year they did a lot of one-on-one stuff with Goddard and Smith. So I think they feel very good about that. I would think they'd feel good about that against pretty much everybody they played.
Yeah. Yeah. So looking good here offensively.
Oh, John, the million-dollar question is, you were alluding to it. They averaged 26.5 attempts per game after week 7 last season when they pulled the air out of the football, 34.5 to 35 the first 6. What are they going to be passing game wise? I think 32, low 30s pass attempts. It's definitely going to go up. They won't agree last year that, Greg knows from an ownership standpoint, this is not what they wanted, but great coaching by Sirianni to pull the air out of the ball so they can win. That ain't going to fly this year. So they're going to get peppered. And from a football operations standpoint, they think Goddard is going to be a monster this year. I'm just telling you.
We do have a pretty high total of 49. I mean, you wouldn't think so.
The Detroit score, though. The Detroit score.
I mean, the people in the desert seem to believe points will be scored here. So I did give Hurst 32 attempts. It's going to be an aerial circus.
Well, Adam's 100% right. They know both organizationally and the coaching staff that they're not getting to a Super Bowl or winning a Super Bowl playing the way they did the last 7-8 games last year. It was necessary given the situation, but they're not going. That's not the way they want to play, and they know they can't play that way to get where they want to go.
And Miles Sanders continues to be Adam. I mean,
he's back. He's ready to go.
Well, I have no thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't know if he could take his normal workload because he's another guy missed about a month or if not longer, and he's had so many problems with hamstrings over his career. The million-dollar question, and this is one I don't know yet. They were only a 2-man backfield last year. Remember, Boston Scott did not have a touch from scrimmage, I think, for the first half of last season. Yeah, until they had injuries.
Oh yeah.
So,
Jordan Howard was there though,
right? Well, they brought Jordan, right, but it was a 2-man backfield plus Hurts. That's it. They only used 2 running backs.
Oh.
So we know Hurts will be part of the run game. Will he get as many carries? Look, they don't want Hurts to lead them in rushing again. It is what it is. So I'm fascinated to see is Boston Scott. Gainwell we know is going to have a role. Will they play Boston Scott as a third back? I don't know. That's something we're going to be watching.
Well, here's a game I don't have much on. Colts Texans.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor's absolutely ripped them. Greg, this Texans secondary seems to be, maybe a Michael Pittman, it's kind of a dominating performance here. Steve Nelson, the rookie Stingley, and then Desmond Campbell. I mean, this seems like a very vulnerable secondary in Houston, Greg.
Yeah, and Lovey will play a lot of zone. I mean, that's what he does, and he certainly will this week. So yeah, that's, although I think their roster overall is better. Their defense has a lot of questions, as you said. I think offensively they could be better than people think.
Yeah, you seem to be attaching yourself to Nico Collins. He's like a mold of clay being molded in front of our eyes.
Well, I'm not attaching myself. I mean, I watched the tape.
Right,
I think that Davis Mills, I watched, I think 6 games this summer. I think Davis Mills played extremely well last year, given the team he was on and the situation he was in. Yeah. And I would expect him to become a solid NFL quarterback. I think Pierce will be a solid back. And they've got some receivers. I mean, you guys know this because of fantasy, but, Brandon Cooks has 6 1,000-yard seasons in his 8 years in the league. He's a pretty damn good receiver.
Oh, hell yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. Huh.
Yeah.
And I think Nico Collins has a chance. He's long. He can run. He's athletic. He can get on top of corners. He's a guy that'll be interesting to watch throughout this year, John.
Yeah, no question about it. And, what do we think of the Indy D these days?
Oh, changing.
Bradley coming in here. So, Greg,
with a different approach.
Yeah.
So we don't really know the answer to that, because one of the things about Matt Eberflus was kind of vanilla on first and second down, but really difficult to play against on third down. Gus Bradley's not really like that. So it's going to be a different approach.
Is he still pretty much cover 3? Is he still?
He's moved, as most of the league has, Adam, to playing more cover 4 and the offshoots of cover 4. There's many offshoots. We'll get into that a lot more on Sunday. But a lot of coaches who were cover 3 based have started to move more into the sort of quarter structure in the Fangio mold for many different reasons, which don't impact fantasy. So we won't go into the weeds in that right now. But yeah, Bradley is not just cover 3.
Gotcha.
Let's move to New England and Miami. This is a tough one to wrap your head around. It's in Miami, so it's probably going to be Africa hot. And, the Patriots, from all accounts, had a rough go here as they tweak the offense in the post-Josh McDaniels era. Adam, I'll go to you. Who gets more touches, more opportunities, touches plus targets, Ramondre or Damian Harris?
The best way to say it is Harris is their primary first and second down back. Stevenson's their backup. Stevens will see a lot of time in passing situations. They feel he's improved his ability to scan, and where defenders are. He's got a better understanding in his second year. He got his weight down. He's super explosive. I still think if they're behind most of the game, then Harris is not going to have a lot of carries.
Right.
I'll tell you, it's I'm how much I respect Belichick. He's one of my favorite coaches of all time, and who am I to criticize? He knows more than we do about how he wants the offense to look under Patricia and Joe Judge. It was not pretty in training camp. It's not just as reporters were there. It's what I've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see. The thing is, we talk about Stevenson. We love him. Do they understand how to scheme him? Is it just going to be checkdowns, or are they actually going to scheme him open? See, that's the thing. We don't know, because these coaches, I don't know how they may be smart from a football standpoint, but they don't know offense like Josh McDaniels did.
I could see him doing some wheel route things, not being just that check down guy.
Greg, the other question, John, is, Ty Montgomery is on the roster.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. He's been hurt.
He may well be that third down back, not Ramondre. Ramondre Stevenson could end up with, 22 targets.
I think it's going to be
Ty Montgomery.
Yeah, I think it's going to be heavier than that, from what I understand. But yeah, Montgomery got hurt at the end of training camp. I'm interested to see what they do with him. I'm glad Greg brought him up. It's had sort of a quiet training camp. But see, this is the thing about these guys. Okay, let's isolate Ty Montgomery. Ty Montgomery's a specialist. Do they understand how to use him? It's easy to say.
Maybe Josh McDaniels would.
Well, right. I'm sure Belichick does, because Montgomery is probably going to be somewhat like Bolden was,
Yeah.
And Montgomery probably has more diverse skill set than Bolden. So
I want to see them match them up. I want to see how they match up these guys versus defenders. That's where you got to know how to call plays. I'm not sold on these guys knowing having the vision to do it. Belichick does, because he can coach either side of the football. So there were a lot of timing errors, as I understand, in training camp, and they're keeping McDaniel's integrity, I was told, but there's no fullback. They've changed protection. They've changed a bunch of things. So I have no idea, John, what this thing's going to look like. It's been very hard to forecast. But I'll tell you this: Nelson Aguilar's out of the doghouse. He was in the doghouse with McDaniels. He's no longer in the doghouse. That I can tell you.
Yeah, I was going to say, Greg, they're going to be, I think, a little bit more of a perimeter, downfield passing game. I think that's kind of what they want, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, having no fullback is a major change from recent years. So, because the way they sort of stabilized their offense the last couple of years was with running the football at a two back set. So they don't have that now. That's done. They made a decision not to go that route,
like an inside out thing, right?
Yeah, so I mean, but they really, as we speak now, don't they only have 4 real receivers on their roster?
Well, pretty much. Yeah, and Slater's the 5th.
Yeah, Slater. Yeah, he's not going to play receiver.
Well, and then unfortunately,
Treadwell on the practice squad
with Thornton breaking his collarbone. Boy, he was going to be their shot play guy. He wasn't going to play a lot, but he was going to be their shot play guy.
Well, they got Lynn Bowden on the practice squad too.
Yeah, so it's not like they've got enough guys on the practice squad to call up as a 5th receiver, but it's too bad Thornton got hurt, because he needed to put some weight on, but he made some big time plays downfield. So yeah, I agree, John. And Parker, I know the media thought they didn't talk much about him, but from what I understand is they were really happy with Parker. Training camp.
Yeah, and then for Miami, and then Greg too, your thoughts on the defense? Like where do we think New England is defensively? They always seem to, turn these no names into players in the corner, but a cornerback, for example, but they do seem thinner than usual in the secondary.
A little bit. I mean, they're obviously going to play Jonathan Jones. Apparently outside, he's been their slot corner.
Yeah.
So he's moved outside. So that's, we don't know the answer to that. We'll see. I think their defense is a little bit of we'll see. I mean, their front's probably going to be pretty good. I think they feel pretty good at linebacker. But I think the secondary, is, Devin McCourty's back for his 50th year. And Duggar's a solid, strong safety. And, Adrian Phillips, they play a lot. They play a lot of big nickel. I mean, Bill Belichick will do a lot of different things. But, I think at corner is a little bit of a question right now.
Yeah, so could be a little vulnerable to Miami and Tua and all that. But let's go to Baltimore and the Jets. I guess, Adam, the deadline for Lamar is a new contract is like tomorrow, Friday.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's tough because he doesn't have an agent, though. He's got advisors and he's got the NFLPA helping him. You don't want any quarterback thinking about dealing with this thing. They should have tabled it last week.
How risky would it be to go into the year and play it with no long-term deal?
Well, he knows what's coming next year. He's getting tagged. So if he doesn't get it done by tomorrow, so they'll tag him in March.
He doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're not good. They've built their whole offense around him. They adore the kid. It's a shame he doesn't have an agent. This thing would have been done last year if he had an agent, but because now you want to beat Russell Wilson's deal. That now that he waited, that's the deal you want to get, which is a pretty good deal. No one's doing the Watson deal, but it's John. What I told you at training camp is still holding true. It's really a 2 passing target offense. I don't think there's no Bateman's the 2. Andrews is the 1, and boy, do they move Andrews around, John. Oh my God!
I almost wonder if Isaiah Likely will end up getting more targets than Devin Duvernay and James Prochet.
Yeah, I understand that this is preseason. You don't want to go crazy. They're going to lead the NFL in 13 personnel again. Maybe they'll set a record in it because that kid Likely. Greg, what did you think of Likely coming out?
I like Likely. I mean, again, I don't like to overdo training camp. I mean, he had obviously played well in the preseason games. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, now we're talking about him like he's, Travis Kelce, I think that would be a little ridiculous, but he's a receiver. That's what he was in college. He was a detached player. See, the interesting thing about Andrews and Likely, and I don't know what they're going to do. Those guys are a lot smarter than I am, but both Andrews and Likely are really detached players, and they're a running football team. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out.
So, in other words, Nick Boyle, we know, will be,
Is still there, and
he'll have his
Picard,
hand on the
is
ground.
Picard still there?
No, yeah.
Is who?
Patrick Ricard.
Yeah, the fullback. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're a running football team. So, unless they were planning on changing that dramatically, which, again, we don't know the answer to these questions.
That could happen.
Not likely, I would assume.
No.
Then, are Likely and Andrews playing a ton of snaps together? I don't know.
That's a great question. That's
a great question, because
I would say not.
I view Likely as a big slot, Greg, which is basically what Andrews is.
Which is basically what Andrews is.
Yeah.
Well,
and then Adam, they're a run-based team.
But they could play him at X. I know Bateman will be their X, but they could play him at X.
Oh,
yeah.
Likely they could try him at X.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not an X big. I mean, he's reasonably athletic, Adam, but he's not Kelce. He's not Waller. He's not that guy.
Okay.
He's good. He's athletic, no question. But
So in other words,
maybe they see him that way.
He's a great separator in the middle, but maybe not outside, basically, because Adam and I watched him at the practice at Senior Bowl. The guy was getting separation left and right.
Greg's right. He looks like a receiver out there. It just
that's what I mean.
Gives them a little juice to their passing game they have not had.
Right.
We know they're a low octane passing game that starts with a run. And it's still on the roster. Not that he'll be used as Josh Oliver, who's pretty athletic himself.
Yeah, they've had him around.
He is,
but hey, run based team. But Adam, this running game is a quagmire once again.
Yeah.
Like Dobbins this is pretty weird, I think.
Well, Dobbins is still not taking all the snaps in practice yet. He's going to play, but I don't know how many snaps he can handle coming off a very bad knee injury. It was worse than an ACL. And
Mike Davis is there. Precarious.
Yeah, and Mike Davis is there to grind carries. Kenny Drake's there. They'll get him involved, I'm sure. That's
going to be ugly.
Yeah, it is.
Then for the Jets, no Zach Wilson. I don't have any great advice on Breece Hall and his week 1 role.
A lot of carries.
Adam, what do you hear about Zach Wilson? Not the injury, but just in general.
He was doing better.
The vibes are good.
The fastballs. We know last year like everything was coming in hot. He needs to calm down, take something off the football. Better, certainly better before the injury. There's just some things about his game you know better than anyone, Greg, that he just has to refine and get better and cleaner with. And it's too bad he got hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Greg. What do you think of the Jets defense? Because I think, the common perception is to laugh at them, but I kind of thought they were somewhat respectable at times last year. And of course you had Sauce Gardner here this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'll be better for sure. Mosley is there now. Lawson is a good pass rusher. I think Jermaine Johnson, I really liked his tape coming out. I think that a very overlooked and underrated signing was Jordan Whitehead, the safety from Tampa. I think he's a good safety. So I think they'll be better. Again, that's
not a cakewalk, maybe.
What's that?
Maybe they're not a cakewalk.
No. I think, and I'd be curious to see how they choose to use Sauce Gardner, whether they use him as a matchup corner or whether they just line up and play and, wherever he is, boundary, field, left, right. And that I'm curious to see that.
Oh, by the way, Dwayne Brown has not practiced this weweek.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. And Fant will play it right. He'll move to left if Brown can't play. Their line is it's just it does worry me. At least they have Tomlinson now and Vera Tucker. And McGovern was hurt last year, but it does worry me a little bit, the tackle situation.
And by the way, the state of the Ravens secondary these days, what have you heard about Marcus Peters? Are we good to go with him? Healthy?
He's back. He's all the way back. I mean, it's basically a year.
I mean, Greg, that's a pretty talented secondary per usual when healthy here.
Yeah, and they signed Marcus Williams to be their free safety. They drafted Kyle Hamilton in the first round, who's not presently starting, but we'll see how it plays out. They actually drafted in the 4th round an Alabama corner whose tape I loved. He just got hurt a lot in college. Jalen Armour-Davis, who made the team and is a backup outside corner. I think he would have a chance, if he can stay healthy, to be a really good corner in this league.
Rich get richer. Jaguars and Commanders, and Carson Wentz up against this defense. Greg, that's zone based, right? I mean, your thoughts on Carson in this matchup here? I kind of have a feeling.
I don't feel like I know exactly what Jacksonville's defense is going to be. I don't think Mike Caldwell has a big enough track record for me to sit here and say this is exactly what he's going to do.
Right.
Obviously, they upgraded personnel. They spent a lot of their early draft capital on defensive players: Devin Lloyd, Trayvon Walker, obviously Chad Muma. So we'll see. I don't know the answer to that. Last year they drafted Tyson Campbell out of Georgia in the 2nd round. He, very athletic kid, had ups and downs as a rookie corner. You'd have to figure he's improved.
I would have to say, though, I mean, when you look at the trio here on this depth chart, it's got to be one of the least accomplished corner groups in the league. Is that fair? Shaq Griffin.
Cisco, the safety Cisco, they're expecting him to have a breakout season.
Yeah, he was an impressive college player out of Syracuse.
Okay.
And Jenkins.
They're going to run a pretty front under Mike Caldwell. I would say pretty aggressive. From talking to someone who's close to Mike Caldwell. I don't know Mike, but I know someone who's coached with him who said that Mike's pretty aggressive by nature. Although he's a sort of a mild-mannered guy, but as a coach, he's pretty aggressive. But I don't know if they have enough. We'll see. We'll have to see here with what they can get from a pass rush standpoint. Greg, did you see Trevon Walker in the preseason at all?
A little bit, not a lot, but okay. I like Trevon Walker. I think he's going to be a really good player. You can move him around. He's a really good player. I think their defense has some guys that are really interesting. I'm not saying they're going to be a top 5 defense, but I thought a real under the radar signing was Oluokun. He's a really good linebacker, a 3-down linebacker. I expect, like I said, Campbell to be better. I don't think that this is a bad defense overall. They Josh Allen's a pretty good pass rusher. So, I mean, it's not great, but I don't think it's one of those defenses where you're going to go, oh, man, anybody can score on them.
Yeah, it won't be like before, John. They've upgraded. Arden Keyes there is not a bad player.
You know what? He was really good for the 49ers last year. It's funny you mentioned him. He was a very good pass rusher.
He was like a savior for them last year.
Yeah.
I will say what I do think for the Commanders, Adam, it's going to be Antonio Gibson time here. I mean, Gibson's getting the ball here.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Williams, who's been on 80 teams, he give him credit. He's not quitting. He's still there. But McKissick you'll see on 3rd down. Gibson will be the main back on 1st and 2nd down. It'll be much like last year without Robinson, unfortunately. Hopefully he's back by midseason. We'll see. They don't know that yet.
Will Carson will he check it down to McKissick?
I know, and I talked to someone about that. They swear he's going to. He's never done it before, but we'll see. But the story is Jahan Dotson, John. I'm telling you, he was. We haven't got the regular season yet.
They're taking shots. I think they're taking shots.
Not only that, he's line up everywhere. I'm so excited to see what he does for this team.
Yeah, for sure.
I loved him coming out, as you guys know.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was such a great comp because I was like, man, this kid is unbelievable. And Deontay Johnson comp was like, that was a goat.
Super competitive. It means a lot to him. He's exactly what you want in a 1st-round pick. You don't have to worry about competitiveness or attentiveness. He's very coachable. Explosive, John, as you were talking about.
He's really competitive and fearless and tough mentally.
There you go.
That's huge. That is huge.
And God forbid Curtis Samuel actually stays healthy. He's actually healthy right now as their slot.
I may be a little nuts, but I think that Snoop Connor is going to get carries in this offense because we have no idea about James
Jacksonville. Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Oh, Robinson, John. Now they say he's going to play. He was very heavy and started training camp. He just needed to get in better shape.
Be careful. Don't expect anything from Robinson.
I don't know what. Well, honestly, I don't know what to expect if he gets 2 carries or 10. I have no idea. I know this. ETN looks all the way back. He looked phenomenal when I was there 3 weeks ago. They said he was running in February. He looks great.
Yep. Our guy down there, and the Rocco said you couldn't even tell he was ever hurt.
Doug's back. They're running the 16 and 17 offenses spread West Coast. There tons of 11 personnel. In fact, John, if you look at their personnel, it's so 11 personnel.
Oh, it's the Jones brothers and Kirk all day long.
And look who their slot tight end is. Ingram. And Dan Arnold.
And Arnold, yeah.
And Arnold's a good receiver.
Yeah. So there you go.
Do we have any idea if the Commanders are going to have a good defense this year? Because on paper, it's a damn good defense on paper, name-wise, Greg. I guess we'll find
Chase
out,
Young's
right?
Chase Young's out now.
Yep.
Yeah.
He won't play, he's certainly not playing this week. So I don't know the answer to that. They're hoping Montez Sweat can come back to what he was 2 years ago. He was not that player a year ago. They're really good inside on defense. I think from everything I've read and heard, Jamin Davis was better this offseason, and they expect him, to sort of evolve into a full-time player because his traits suggest that.
That's a big one there.
So, again, we'll see. I mean, their secondary is pretty much the same as it was a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's pretty
By the
good.
way, Cam Curl's not. Well, he's got a beat up thumb. He hasn't been cleared yet.
He's a good player.
I know.
He's pretty good.
That would certainly be a problem.
That would,
John, if he can't play.
William Jackson's pretty good though.
William Jackson is a man-to-man player. He's not very good in zone at all.
Okay. All right. Though, Greg, I guess one of the more fascinating quarterbacks to evaluate early in the season for you will be Trevor Lawrence, I feel like, right? Because, I think we're all kind of we're waiting to make a determination. We're waiting for the sample size to increase to kind of settle into a place to where we know what Trevor Lawrence is, right? I don't know yet.
I don't think we know that for sure. I mean, unfortunately, after his freshman year in college, we were told that, which is not his fault, that there's never been a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence in the history of civilization. Yeah. And that's, unfortunate for him because he's not that guy in terms of pure talent, but I think he's going to be a good player. What that means, we have to wait and see.
KC, Arizona, moving on here. The fantasy
Arizona, did you get a call to play wide receiver, John? Because now Rondell Moore is going to be out. Hopkins is out.
It's like, help me, Rondell. No. Is he definitely out or was he just out of practice today?
Yeah, his hamstring. I can't imagine hurting your hamstring on Thursday. You're going to line up on Sunday.
Yeah, he got hurt actually in practice, so he's going to get tested.
I'm not a doctor, so I can't answer that for sure.
I mean, they may become so desperate that they actually have to play Andy Isabella.
I knew you were going to say it, and that's where I was going. Yeah.
They're going to be interesting. I mean, I know Hopkins is out, okay, and he'll be back, as Moore will be at some point. But, they drafted Trey McBride in the second round, okay? And they have Zach Ertz. And everybody just automatically assumes that they're going to, spread it out 4 wide, which, by the way, they do that. And if you look at the percentages, they probably did it the second or third percentage-wise most of any team in the league. But on the flip side of that, they also played a ton of 12 personnel, John. And you don't draft Trey McBride in the second round when you have Zach Ertz to play McBride 8 snaps a game.
Yeah. So – there's not going to be a lot of production go around for these wide receivers, I guess.
I mean, early in the season, I would imagine you'd see a lot of 12 personnel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no question. And but I don't know about this week because Zach Ertz out of practice listed as actually doubtful.
No, he can't be doubtful. Who's saying he's doubtful?
Well, I guess he's doubtful because he on our listing here, but he
can't be doubtful.
It was a DNP.
That doesn't come out till tomorrow.
Right, till tomorrow. Okay, that's what I mean. That's where I was skeptical. I was like, doubtful.
Right.
No, but the thing that is disappointing is Ertz didn't work today, which is surprising to me.
Yeah.
JJ Watt also didn't work.
Could that be veterans like you do a little bit on Wednesday and take Thursday off and go
maybe,
Friday?
But he better work tomorrow.
Yeah, for
tomorrow,
sure.
Really a problem.
I mean, if Ertz doesn't work tomorrow, there's Kyler's screwed. I mean, I forgot AJ Green existed. There's a player with zero buzz this summer. Zero.
Right. It's funny. Kingsbury acted like if Ertz plays, because he had been out for so long, they don't know how much he can play.
Oh, Jesus.
That would be
no, he's obviously got an injury that
calf.
If he plays could limit him. Yes.
Yeah, calf strain.
I mean,
there's your bitch, man.
Grief. Right out of the gate. Well, what do you think of this Chief defense this year, Greg? Might they need a little time? What do you think they're, what's the state of the Chief D in your mind?
I think they got to figure a couple things out. They were a big cover 2 team, and Matthew was the middle hole defender, and they were so good with disguise and late movement to that. But of course, there's not a lot of Tyrann Matthews. I actually spoke with Spags earlier, probably when training camp started, and he said that was one of the main things that they're trying to figure out is who's going to be that guy in cover 2. I don't know the answer to that. Haven't spoken to him since. So we'll see. But, there looks like they're going to start the rookie McDuffie on the outside, and I really liked his tape. I love that kid's tape coming out of UW. So, I think their corner position is okay. I really like the Justin Reed signing. He's really an athletic, multi-dimensional safety. I think their defense is going to be pretty good.
I mean, they still have Frank Clark and Chris Jones for one. So you got that going for you.
And Nick Bolton is a really good linebacker. Better than I thought he'd be coming out of Mizzou.
Their linebacker group has really improved.
How about the Cardinal D? Like, where are they?
Probably in Arizona.
I know, with Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, in theory, they're athletic. And Buda Baker, they have held down Kelsey in the past. They're beatable on the back end, though. Where are you with this Cardinal? I mean, it's all the same guys. Well, they added Trayvon Mullen.
Well, they asked Trayvon Mullen's not a bad corner.
He's also hurt. I don't think he's playing.
Who?
Trayvon Mullen. It doesn't sound good for him playing tonight.
Oh, okay. But I mean, so for this week, that's a problem.
Yeah, he's DNP all week.
Right. Then he
won't. Khalil Shakir inactive tonight. And he's healthy, just so you know.
Oh.
He's not even a part of their rotation.
Who is? Who's not?
Khalil Shakir is not active for the Bills tonight.
Really?
Yeah, he's not hurt.
They have Crowder. The veteran will be.
Yeah. That's a little surprising.
Well, you know why? Probably because Kumaro has to be active because of special teams.
Okay.
This real-time analysis right here with the inactives coming down.
Kumaro is from what I understand, their best special teams player, which is why he made the roster, because he's a really good special teams player, and he's a wide receiver. So that's probably why Shakir is not active.
Greg, I know it's a very difficult question. The chief offense changing. What do you think the Cardinal D, what do they bring to the table to disrupt things for Mahomes? I'm wondering, do they run a little bit more? Is it a short, quick passing attack, with their new guys? Any thoughts?
I kind of think, knowing Andy Reid, that he's going to be aggressive. I mean, I think he's going to look at this secondary at the corner position and feel like, you know what? We're going to be aggressive. We're going to come out. We're going to throw the ball. We're going to take some shots, and we'll see how that goes early. Mahomes is the kind of quarterback that, to me, will make receivers better. I know they lost Hill. We know all that. But I don't think that that's a big impact on Patrick Mahomes.
Let's go to the Raiders and the Chargers here. And, one matchup that I've looked at, Darren Waller has got a good history in the matchup. They had Bryce Callahan for Hunter Renfrow, and then J.C. Jackson is out.
Yep.
So, I mean, it looks good, Greg, for Devontae Adams and perhaps a Waller game here because Bryce Callahan has been, an eliminator, a slot corner.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to eliminate Hunter Renfrow.
Right. I know. Slow him down a little bit.
I mean,
tougher matchup.
Yeah. It's, so, keep in mind that Michael Davis will play instead of Jackson, I'm sure. He basically was their boundary corner all of last season.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that has a lot of experience and is not a bad player. So it's not like they're putting a stiff out there. Look, obviously, J.C. Jackson, arguably one of the 3 or 4 best outside corners in the game, and that's why they signed him. But Davis can line up and play.
One thing about Bryce Callahan, you should know, John, he the past 4 seasons he spent on injured reserve. He's also 30, turns 31 in October. I know he's there because of his relationship with Staley. He knows the defense. We'll see how good he is. We act like he's like this best shutdown slot corner. When these guys get older, their legs go. He had problems with his feet too. He has all sorts of problems injury wise. The last 4 seasons, John. 4 straight seasons in IR.
All I know is
not put him on the Hall of Fame yet. I think
all I know is wherever he is, the production given up to slot receivers is minuscule. I mean,
I hear you.
That's it.
He's also 30. Let's not start saying he can't be beat.
No, and I know coaches who've coached him love him. They say he's a really good player. But Adam makes a great point, John. There's no guarantee. I mean, he's probably ready week 1, so he's going to play in this game. There's no guarantee he plays 17 games.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'm just talking about this one here too. Could be a big Waller day. Well, where are we with the Raider defense, Greg? Justin Herbert, myriad weapons here. I mean, only one real question on offense, I guess, right tackle. But maybe that's comes to the forefront here with Max Crosby and Chandler Jones.
It could. I mean, it could, but obviously they're in the same division, so they had a problem at right tackle a year ago, and so it's not like it's a brand new issue for the Chargers. So I'm anxious to see the Raider defense. They have Patrick Graham, who, again, we don't know what he's going to do with this personnel, but with the Giants, he played heavy zone. So again, is he going to do that? In some ways, and again, they have to evaluate their own talent, but in some ways, Jonathan Abram limits what you can do with certain things because he's really a glorified linebacker.
Right.
And, so that.
They like Jamal Adams.
What's that?
They like Jamal Adams.
He's similar. Yeah, they're glorified linebackers.
Right. Exactly.
John, they're not really good at outside corner. Because Rock Ya-Sin did not turn out to be the player the Colts thought they were drafting.
Oh, sure.
And I'm to me, I have to look at your rank. I don't know where you have Herbert this week. I'd have him. I mean, not that you wouldn't have him high normally, but man, this matchup to me is really good.
Actually, we do have him at 4.
Yeah.
That's pretty high.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. I think we all know to, be optimistic about that game from a fantasy perspective. Packers Vikings.
Hey, just one quick point before that game. Justin Herbert in his first 2 years in the league has the second most red zone touchdown passes behind only Aaron Rodgers.
And it'll be interesting to see if they throw it to Gerald Everett in the red zone, because he's not really a red zone guy like a Jared Cook was. Because
team guy,
that could be Jalen Tolbert time.
Jalen Tolbert.
Not Jalen Tolbert. The other kid,
Josh Palmer.
Palmer. I always confuse.
Sure.
I love those. Sure. I love those two guys at their ADP, and I
right.
Both 6'1".
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to mention that, but we can move on to that next game.
Yeah, no, I do love Palmer. I like Tolbert too, though. For some reason, I'm linking those two guys together for some God-forsaken reason. Green Bay, Minnesota. This matchup against the Packer D, Kirky lit them up last year in one game, Greg, and they're fairly loaded. But this Green Bay D could be like a top 5 unit this year overall, don't you think?
Yeah, I think the Green Bay D really improved. I think it's a very overlooked defense because of Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and all the issues, this offseason at receiver. But I think the Packers defense could really, really be good. I think they're really good pretty much in every area. Yep. And they drafted Quay Walker from Georgia, who I thought was Georgia's best linebacker. And he's 6'4", 240, by the way. So they've got Devondre Campbell and Quay Walker, who are both 6'3 plus, 6'4, and they're really good on the back end. Their safety combo is really good. There's a really good defense.
Yeah, really damn good. But, it's kind of strength on strength for me in this one, looking at it with all the Vikings weapons now, including Jalen Reagor, who'll be out there in the return game, I guess. And Adam, I guess Irv Smith is going to play.
Yeah. He's had such bad luck with injury.
Right.
But yeah, he's expected to go.
And how about this Alan Lazard injury? You've got to be kidding me.
Is he injured?
Yeah, he's been out of practice all week.
He's got tomorrow, but yeah, it's not good. This is a new.
So if he can't go and they go to 11 personnel, I assume it's Watkins, Cobb, and would it be Dubs at that point?
It's got to be.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, Dobbs is ahead of Watson. So yeah.
Dobbs, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be Dobbs. So right out of the gate, he'll probably score. In fact, mark it right here. Thursday, September 8th, Romeo Dobbs did score.
The Vikings have corners. It's not like they don't have corners, but they don't have anyone I'm really worried about.
No. Well, they got former Packer Chandon Sullivan for one.
Right.
He's a slot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Dantzler was he was benched. He's back. He's long, but he doesn't run all that well. Peterson's near the end of his career.
They drafted 2 corners. Obviously they're not ready to play, but they drafted 2 corners in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah, the league is definitely mixed on Booth. I can't get people to agree on him. fun.
Yeah.
Oh, then the Kine kid is not even starting.
Lewis Seen.
He's
He's good. Safety.
Lewis
got a
Seen,
bad-
yeah.
I always have a mental block with his name too.
It's kind of an odd name. Yeah.
You know, here's the question that I have, and I'm just curious. We don't know the answer to this. Last year, they played a very low percentage relative to the league of 11 personnel because they played with a fullback. Now it's Kevin O'Connell, who comes from the Rams, who led the league in playing 11 personnel, and they still have C.J. Ham on the roster, so it's not like they cut the cord with the fullback. So is this going to be an 11 personnel offense? I happen to really like KJ Osborne. Or is he going to kind of stick with what they were and play more with a fullback than he was used to with the Rams? I don't know the answer to that.
I would say 11.
Well, no, I'd say this though. Their 11 will be way up comparatively, but I don't know that it's going to be like the Rams. I don't see it being quite as much.
The Rams were like 83%.
Right.
I don't think the Vikings will be that.
But
I'll tell you, look at their tight ends. They've got
Osborne had a phenomenal training camp. They love him. Ray will be
I really like that kid.
Yeah. What are you saying, John?
I'm just saying, look at the tight ends they have behind Irv. That kind of tells you.
Johnny Muncake, who's a blocker, and Ben Ellison.
Yeah.
Well, Munn was with the Rams, so Kevin knows him.
Yep.
Right.
He's there to block.
What do you have any expectations, Greg, overall for this Viking defense? I mean, they're transitioning to 3-4.
34. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of, there were some young players I kind of liked last year. I don't know if I look at their depth chart, I don't know who's listed as a starter and who's not, but I kind of like DJ Wonnum. When I've seen him on tape, I think he's kind of an interesting guy, but
he's a backup to Za'Darius.
Yeah, and I guess he's a backup because they have Za'Darius Smith and Danielle Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think they have bad players. It's just now it's a change in philosophy. So I don't know. They're going to be one of those teams, John. We're not going to know until they play, some games. I
wonder if Danielle Hunter might actually be better in a 3-4. I mean, who knows?
Well, he's going to be. These 3-4s are essentially 5-2s. He's going to be an on-the-ball player just like he was before.
Right. Giants, Titans don't have a lot here. Adam, I think we should probably prepare for a heck of a lot of Saquon Barkley and will Sterling Shepard play?
Well, Shepard, if he plays, I don't expect him to play a ton of snaps. But the other thing is that Tony's not on the injury report by miracle. So,
oh my God, he'll be on the injury report by halftime, though.
Yeah, but neither is Galladay. So you're going to see a lot of different stuff with the Giants, probably in this game. The Daboll and Kafka are pretty smart guys. Kafka, as I told you, John, in February is going to call the plays. He sees it. It is Andy Reid's concept, but he's a little different than Andy Reid, I was told by someone close to him. But there's going to be some gadget stuff with Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson probably carried the football. He had a phenomenal training camp. And they have, obviously, now all these guys are going to be able to play, so I don't know how many snaps he'll get early on. But, John, as we talked, you and I talked about months ago, with Tony's history and Galladay's history and Shepard's history, he's just one play away from being impactful.
Oh, yeah. I don't have anything on the Titans. They're going to hand the ball off to Derrick Henry and throw to Austin Hooper and Kyle Phillips and Nick Westbrook-Akina and maybe a little Traylon Burks. So we move on.
Good. By the way, Burks got himself in better shape. They feel that he's got the playbook down. Westbrook-Akina is definitely starting over him. No doubt. That's definitely happening. They've got some changes, 2 changes to their offensive line. Radins is a backup. Petit Ferrer won the right tackle job. They weren't expecting that in the training camp.
Yeah, he's good.
Clearly beat him out. And then Aaron Brewer's going to start.
Radins is not going to play tackle in this league.
Who's that?
Dylan Radins is not going to play tackle.
Well, anyway, the third rounder, Petit Ferrer.
I'm really familiar with him and with that whole deal.
Okay.
Well, John, Tyler Smith as we move on to Bucks at Cowboys.
Just one thing for people who have Henry in dynasty leagues. Haskins will be their third down back if Henry can't play. Apparently he's a phenomenal pass protector.
With Dontrell Hilliard?
Hilliard certainly will get his work. He's very explosive, but it's not like Haskins won't get work. He definitely will get work, particularly in third down, more than you would think.
Right. Well, as we move on to Dallas hosting Tampa, Greg, and I mean, is Tyler Smith going to be? Well, Adam, I'll ask you first. Is Tyler Smith going to
something highly unforeseen? Tyler Smith will be the left tackle.
Oof.
Now, could they change? Something would have to happen where we know that Tyler Smith's a project, but I can't imagine because the Bears waited. Peter's gotten training camp last year in the middle of August. He wound up starting 15 games. You're going to need to give him time. I can't imagine he'd even. I guess he could dress theoretically, but I'm fully expecting Tyler Smith to start at least this week.
Well, Greg, how problematic might that be against Tampa's because their front is still nasty?
Yeah,
I think that would be a problem.
You think?
Now Michael Gallup will not go this week.
No,
right?
Correct.
Yeah. I would look for Tony Pollard to be a factor in the passing game.
Lining up inside slot?
Playing the receiver position, not for 60 snaps, but I would think you'd see the pony package in this game with two tailbacks. Right now, Jalen Tolbert does not seem to be, listed as a starter. We don't know how the snaps play out when the game.
I think actually Tolbert, I was told was in the lead. So now, even if he does start, does it mean that Fehoko wins? I think both will play, John.
Or Noah Brown.
Noah Brown's been there, and so he could play too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I got to think we'll get a lot of targets here for Dalton Schultz too, for God's sakes. Jesus.
I'll tell you what, though, John, the Bucs feel like this defense is potentially better than their Super Bowl defense. Why? Remember, last year, 3 out of the 4 guys in the secondary were hurt. Actually, I'm sorry, all 4 were hurt at one point. They're all back. Logan Ryan's back as a backup safety. This is the healthiest they've been in a long time. This defense could be nasty.
I personally love Joe Tryon. I think he's really good.
Here's another guy.
Yep. Yeah.
Logan Hall's going to play. Yep.
Greg, with this reshuffled O-line, obviously they're okay on the edges there in Tampa, but might the Cowboy D present some problems for this, a little depleted Buck O-line?
I mean, theoretically, yes, and I think the interior of that Buck O-line is a question right now. Brady is a pocket player. The interior of your O-line controls the depth of the pocket. You do not want Brady squeezed, in the pocket. So we'll see. What I'm most curious about with the Cowboys is how they use Micah Parsons on third down and in passing situations, because I thought that he was the best edge pass rusher in the league a year ago when he played that position. So he will start at linebacker, I'm sure, but I'm really curious to see how they use him when you get to third down.
Did he transitioned away to linebacker late in the year, right?
Yeah, when people got healthy, yes.
Yeah. And the production kind of went down then.
Well, he wasn't really used as a pass rusher.
Just splashy plays, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, on defense, Akeem Hicks apparently has been reborn. He's finally healthy. He had a phenomenal training camp. I'm just telling you, John.
He's nasty.
Their defense. Oh, Greg's better to test this than I would.
Talking about the Bucs?
Yes. Yeah. They feel like everyone has a weakness, but they just feel like this starting unit is really good.
I mean, it's nasty. Joe Tryon, Akeem Hicks added with Golston, Vita Vea, Devin White, Levante David, Shaq Barrett, and all the DBs.
Jamel Dean is really improved. He's starting on the outside.
Mm-hmm. It's a tough matchup.
But Cullum kid, he's kind of surprised them. He's a height, weight, speed corner.
I mean, Greg, I can't even envision Zeke Elliott, even though it's week 1, behind this line running on Tampa well.
You would think not.
He'll get shut down. John, I agree, and I have him as a flex option in one of my leagues. I'm probably not even going to play him.
Right. And finally, Denver at Seattle.
Blowout.
Yeah. Should get.
I think Geno probably throws for 450 and 5 touchdowns and blows him out. No problem.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get that Surtain DK matchup, I would imagine, a lot, Greg, right?
Again, we don't know that because Surtain was not a matchup corner a year ago, and they have a new coaching staff, so we don't know that. Again, that's something we have to wait and see.
Well, they're keeping the same. Right.
I'm just being honest with you.
But they're keeping the same scheme. They're keeping the Fangio scheme, as I understand it.
Okay.
Then he's probably not going to be a true matchup corner.
Okay. They play sides. Okay.
but they're 34 and they're keeping the Fangio philosophy.
Yeah, because he was the new coordinator was on the staff, I believe.
Correct. Yep. And
Yeah, so they're going to keep it. Yes,
I've heard he's a disciple of Vic. So yeah.
yeah.
And Adam, your predicted division of labor with Javonte Melvin
Still
is
think
what?
the touch total by the end of the season will be 65-35.
Hey, that's fine.
It was, by the way, Javonte averaged about 15 touches per game last season in a timeshare.
Yeah.
It's only going to go up.
How many question, John? How many attempts per game do you have Russell Wilson?
Well, that's a good one.
For the season or for this week?
Both.
Okay. Well, this week I gave him. I'm a little surprised at this 33. That seems like a
that's a little high, only because they might let him cook. They should kill them, John. This thing should be ugly.
Right. And then for the entirety of the season, I can pull it up here. 555, which that's not very high in 16 games, which
17.
is probably, I'm guessing that's 32.
17.
Well, no, I only projected him to play 16 because,
okay.
34 and a half attempts a game. So that, I guess, is my attempt of, I mean, we're certainly not cooking, but we're also not in the Stone Age either.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see how they run their offense because, obviously Russell Wilson wanted to go somewhere where everything revolved around him. And I just think that their run game is pretty good.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see what Nathaniel Hackett does.
I think
now,
30,
having said that, Seattle looks like they're starting 2 rookies at corner, particularly in their nickel. So, we'll see how this particular week plays out.
Tasty matchup then for the right out of the gate, potentially.
Could well be.
Cortland Sutton looking good this week for sure. You know what? That's a great point. I'm going to give him a little bit more and bump him up. See that? This is real-time updates here. The Fantasy Points live stream here. We went a little longer than usual. We do need some reps. It is week number 1. So we'll wrap it here, let everyone go home, and we'll wish everyone luck in week 1. Obviously, stay tuned here to the website, the Twitter feed, all that good stuff for all the other shows. This weekend, college football, the Sunday pregame stuff, all kinds of content. I'll wrap here. We thank Ben Kukanis for Adam Kaplan and Greg Cosell. I'm John Hansen. Week 1 matchup live stream in the books. Good luck this week. We'll talk to you next week.